My name is Stephanie Bishop, and I have been in the industry for over 40 years.
Welcome to Voices of Travel, The Next Chapters, an interview series that captures the passion, humor, and character of 15 remarkable people as they tell us the stories of their careers in the industry. Thanks for joining me, Stephanie. Do you remember your first job in the industry?
Well, my first job in the industry was with an airline that it was called Ward Air. And I worked in the call center, then worked in inside sales, then groups department, and then sales and marketing. And from there on, moved on.
Did you have a mentor along the way?
I had a few mentors. I'm not sure that they knew it, but for sure I did have some mentors who taught me a lot about what to do and also what not to do throughout my career. And they have been very influential to me. They have supported me. They've believed in me before I even knew what I was capable of doing. So I've been very fortunate throughout my career.
What did they teach you?
One of the lessons that many of my mentors taught me is how you work with people in collaboration. We are in the people business, and people are very important. And you could be responsible for multi-million, billion-dollar budgets, and that's one thing. But how you treat people, how you deal with people, how you make them feel comfortable, how you include them in everything that you do has made a whole difference. And that particularly has been so true, particularly in the last part of my career.
What was the industry like when you first started? And what are some of the big changes that you've seen evolve over the decades?
Well, when I started, the industry was in some ways very similar, but in many ways very different. You know, when you're starting in your 20s, and everything is new. You're working for this fantastic airline. You're not really working. You're having a fantastic time. But many things have changed. And I started when there was a green screen. Many people won't even know what that is, but at a terminal. So a lot of things have changed since then. And I think mostly for the better. I mean, today technology is so important. Having lived through the pandemic, we've learned a lot of lessons on technology, and so it makes our industry that much better. So we could focus on the things that we love to do, which is people and travel and all of that nice stuff.
Green screens, those were the days. But maybe you can help those who've never worked on a green screen understand what you mean by that.
Right. So I was working in the call center. So to book a package with Ward Air, a holiday package, you'd have a dummy terminal, basically. It was all green, and you would be typing in one word at a time to book that package. So that is non-existent today. There's, your computer is actually your phone for many, many things. So, that's makes a big difference in utilizing the tools as they've developed throughout the years.
What do you see as some of the key events that have changed the way the industry operates or that have changed the direction of your career?
So in this industry, there have been many, many events that have changed the course of the travel industry and obviously changed my career as well. Certainly the technology has made life very, very different and will continue so, I think moving forward even more so. I think in technology at the airport, technology throughout the process of the travel experience. And I think that will continue to change as well tremendously. That's just one example of some of the things. But, we've gone through 9/11, we've gone through so many different crises. And the one thing that I know for sure is coming out of a crisis, our industry will be better and stronger. We will be able to leverage all of that we've learned over because they all accumulate and they're never the same. I will never forget before before COVID, days before someone asking me, what we were doing. And I said, well, this too shall pass. We'll get through this crisis. And how little did I know at the time. But here we are. We have gone through it. We have made it onto the other side. And I think, to me, this is the best industry on this planet. And I think we've got a very bright future. We learn through each one of these crises, and we keep those learnings cumulative to make a brighter tomorrow for our industry.
I'm sure you've had a few highlights in your career, Stephanie. What are some of your best moments in the travel industry?
Well, throughout my career, there are many, many highlights, many moments. It's very difficult to narrow that down. But I would say, well, certainly starting my career with an airline, that was just unbelievable journey for the first 10 years of my career. I think changing and learning different parts of the industry, when people think of travel, they think generally, but when you're in the travel industry, you know how complex, and it could be complicated too in terms of different styles of travel. Are we talking ocean cruise? Are we talking river cruise? Are we talking individual touring? To me, having the opportunity from a career perspective to really contribute to different types of travels, different segments in the travel industry, has been beyond a dream come true. It really opens your eyes and your mind to all kinds of experiences that are possible. And I'm sure there are still many more that I've not even had the opportunity to discover.
What have been some of the most challenging times during your career? Was there ever a time when you said, I'm giving up?
Well, I'm not a quitter, so I would never say I'm giving up on anything. I would say, yes, for sure, there's peaks and valleys, and there have been very deep valleys in times of crisis in our industry. I would have to say that the most recent crisis is the pandemic, and I'm so proud of everyone in the travel industry for sticking with it. And no matter how difficult it was, everyone got up every day and focused on the things that they could impact. And here we are, we've made it, we're on the other side. And so to me, in my career, that the pandemic is definitely the most challenging times. I've lived through it even personally every day, having to lead a team, keeping positive, again, focus on the things that we could change and could impact, keeping contact with all of our networks across the country and across the globe, quite frankly.
And how did you keep your team motivated during that time?
So during the pandemic, it was that much more difficult to keep people motivated. And I think what helped me personally and helped our team is communication, and more communication. I had the fortune of reaching out, obviously, to our internal team on a very regular basis, but also to our customers and our providers, our service providers, and our partners throughout the industry. I'm a believer there's a silver lining in everything that we do, and in my world, I had to travel extensively in addition to leading the Canadian team. And the reality is I managed to do more, believe it or not, because I could have a client appointment at 9:00 on the morning. And when you're on these team calls, yes, they're one after the other, but you don't have the travel time and you don't have the transportation time. So it actually gives you more time. I could, be in the morning with customers from the East and in the afternoon with some of our employees that are on the West Coast of Canada or in the US or around the globe. So I was very fortunate. And I think for our team, keeping connected, reaching out, we did a lot of fun things over Teams meetings, and I think people did feel very connected, even though we didn't have that human interaction. And for me, I love hugging, so that's personally what I miss the most, is really hugging. But I really do feel that our team was very connected.
Women make up 55% of the people working in the travel and tourism industry, but they don't always hold senior level or C-suite positions. Can you talk about the role of women in travel and whether it's changing or has changed?
In the industry, it is true that there are perhaps fewer female leaders in our industry. It's getting much better, and not only in Canada, really around the globe. I look at major cruise lines, airlines, and so on and so forth. I would say that probably, I'd have to say probably about 12 years ago is when I started noticing that there is definitely an increase in women leaders at the executive level in our industry. And I certainly hope that it will continue. Women have extraordinary talents. Sometimes they don't know how talented they are. What I love about being a woman is that I am very resourceful, like many, many women. And I don't have to accept no as an answer. There are always ways to get things done. And certainly I've used that many, many times. I think people really embrace more women today, more diversity as well today in our industry. And I applaud all the women leaders in our industry.
So, in terms of advice, what would it be for someone who's trying to get into the travel industry?
So, if I had to give advice to a person that is looking to come into the industry, and there's many different levels and ways of coming into the industry, I'd have to say is obviously you need to be very passionate, and it's easy to say, it's not that easy to deliver on that passion. But I think if you're committed to, if you are a learner, one of the things I always say that has helped me throughout my career is that I am a lifelong learner and I learn every day. And even in my few days of being retired, I learn new words every day. I learn something new every day. If you're a person that's curious, a lifelong learner, and you're a people person, there's a lot of other things that you could learn. You can learn the business, but you need and should have at least those few criterias in terms of your personality and what you like to be able to really grow and develop very nicely in the travel industry.
What about the future, Stephanie? What's the industry going to look like in 10 years? What will have changed?
So if I had to look forward in the next 10 years, some of the things that I think will change, it already has changed. Technology, AI is really going to be, it is already part of our travel. And, I think many people get very concerned, and I understand why they would get concerned when you talk about AI. But the reality, if we use it as a tool, not as a replacement, but as a tool, if we think back, the advent of the web, everyone was saying, oh my God, this is just going to change everything. And rightfully so, it should change it, but it should enhance it. And I think AI will enhance our opportunities in our industry and allow people to focus on the people stuff as opposed to the administrative stuff. I see that traveling, through the airport will be a very different experience, and that started already with, again, automation and utilizing the resources. One thing I don't see changing is people. People want to do business with people they know, they like, they trust, and that is, to me, a very important part of our industry. Whether you're traveling for business or you're traveling for your pleasure with friends and family, what you remember are the people that you met, the stories that you've heard about your travels around the world.
Will travel advisors still have a role to play 10 years from now?
In my view, the importance of a travel advisor will not go away. I always will think back to the first time I went to Africa. What I wanted, and had been in the industry for a long time, what I wanted is to speak to someone that had been there, that knew the ins and outs of Africa. This is on my first experience. And since that experience, what I've seen and heard, so many people have come to me, oh, what did you do when you, climbed Kilimanjaro? Or what did you do here? And that experience is invaluable. And that experience is what a great travel advisor, one of the things that a great travel advisor can offer to their clients. And so that is really important.
Any final thoughts?
I would say my final thought would be, thank you to all the people in the travel industry that have given me the opportunity to have a very nice career, an extraordinary career. But more importantly, thank you to all of the advisors that are out there that, have gone through the peaks and valleys and they made it through one more time. They're consistent and persistent, passionate relentlessly about the travel industry. They have made the difference in this industry, and I applaud all of them out there.
Thanks for telling us your story, Stephanie. And thanks to all of you for joining me for this episode. I'm Bob Mowat, Executive Editor of Canadian Travel Press, and I hope you'll join me for another remarkable conversation on Voices of Travel, the next chapters.